What is up, everybody? How are you all doing? Hope you're having a great day. I know it's been a while since the last episode, and I know last episode had 15 days, but coming to you with a new episode today, it's only going to be 10 days, basically just because I had enough clips to still only cover 10 days. I wasn't super short on clips. I was actually accomplishing enough things in every day to get enough clips where I could span out 10 days and still have enough for a full episode, so I hope you enjoy it. So as you can see from this first clip of day 231, started out working on the beacon minigame, the all fired up, lighting all of the beacons for the Inferno ads. Reason for this was twofold. Firstly, I had a light all of the beacons daily challenge. And secondly, you need the Inferno ads for a task in the Varrock Elite task set. So I figured if I'm going to wind up getting it anyway at some points, I might as well go through the task set and get it then as well. Just because I'd be getting twice as much out of it, if not more. Wound up being a pretty decent XP reward at the end, so all in all, I think it was very worth it. As I'm sure you've already noticed, there were some times where things just did not quite go to plan, but I was using U-logs, so I was still able to complete everything with more than enough time remaining, so everything was good. After that, I was working on some thieving at Dwarf Traders, got to level 92 thieving, which is pretty nice. It does just mean one more elf clan I can pickpocket, and that's what pretty much every level until 98 is going to be doing in thieving from this point on. I don't really think that there's anything between 91 and 98 that isn't an elf clan. So I mean, it's good progress. Again, it's not really anything special. It does mean that I can pickpocket Ithil warriors or Ithil workers during my Jack of Trades. Maybe AFK them a little bit for clue scrolls now that I have 2 clans. Could possibly boost up to 5 if I did want to do that, but not really anything I'm focused on. Gathixian Butterflies got me to level 88 rune crafting. Always great to see really good progress in such an annoying skill. I know that I could be training it through the Abyss and getting really solid XP per hour, but it's just so click intensive that it's not really anything I have the attention to do right now. Just because whenever I am motivated enough to put it, I shouldn't say motivated enough, but because whenever I am not so busy that I can put more attention toward the game, I'm usually doing something a little bit more combat oriented like Slayer, or a slightly more click intensive skilling method. I haven't really focused anything on rune crafting, and being that I'm keeping at my lowest skill, other than invention of course, all of my Gathixian Butterflies and all of my Tears of Guthix are going to this skill, so that's always really good. That was the end of day 231 though, at 2491 total level to 20.5 mil XP. Let's move on to day 232. Began the day getting level 95 cooking, which is really cool. It does unlock summer pies, which isn't anything important necessarily, but it is part of the Varrock Elite task set again, so that's something I'll get around to completing at some point in the future. Other than that, not an important level, but it is really good progress. Now, as you can see from rune metrics, I did get almost 1.5 mil XP today, 220 million XP and 2492 total level, but nothing else really monumental or important enough for a clip, no other levels. Just a really solid progress, very well-rounded in terms of the XP that I got. Began the next day completing the Falador Elite task set, which is pretty cool to be done with one more task set. Don't have a lot of them that I've actually completed all the way. I think this is actually my first Elite task set that I've completed, other than, of course, the 4th tier of the Lumbridge task set, which is only a hard task set. I don't think that's even considered Elite. Regardless, though, getting this done was really great. Put 160k XP into Agility, as you do. Very, very good. After that, went on to get to level 95 firemaking. Nothing important is going to be unlocked between several levels ago and 99 as far as firemaking goes. It's just really solid progress toward that 99. Working on an Aquanite Slayer task, I got to level 91 defense, which is pretty cool. Again, like most levels at this point in the game, doesn't really unlock anything special, but it is really cool to get. What was a bit more interesting was that I believe I had logged out for a while and came back, and I had noticed that I had gotten a treasure hunter key that I just didn't redeem earlier, and I got a lucky God of Subjugation, which is... It seems exciting and it seems kind of fun, but you know, I have my subjugation augmented, and I'm pretty certain you can't augment lucky gear. So until like I'm 120 invention and I no longer want my gear augmented, this is literally useless to me. So it's just gonna sit in the bank. A while after that, I discovered a thing. While I was working on the elf task set, you needed to buy a crystal dagger, and you needed to use that to damage an Iorth warrior. So after I did that, I tried to repair and sell the crystal dagger, but that just really wasn't happening. They weren't selling for what I had wanted it to. So what I did was I reverted it to a seed, and I used a bunch of the crystal, the harmony dust that I had, and I made it into something that I thought would sell, which would be a halberd. And I did that again for a staff, and I was making solid profit on them. So I figured, I have 44K harmony dust. So I bought a full limit of seeds, not realizing that with only 44K harmony dust, that wouldn't be enough to use all of them. But I made a bunch of staffs and a bunch of halberds, which was actually pretty cool in that I made around 10 mil. You can tell me whether or not it was worth it. I think it was worth it just because, 10 mil, you're not going to really say no to that. The only downside is that now I have like zero harmony moss, just about harmony dust, not moss. Which, kind of is a bummer for if I want to be using that to repair things, or if I want to be using that to make my crystal fishing rods in the future. But I think in general this was very worth it, and it was actually pretty funny and interesting. While after that, though, I went to Bandos with a buddy of mine, and we got fucked. We got the Bandos War Shield, which does suck. Not super happy about it, but I mean, I think it's the first War Shield that I've gotten as a drop. I know I've gotten a wart before. So I guess it's just, another milestone, another thing that was going to happen eventually. Might as well get it over with. It's okay, though. We got Tassets after that. Was super excited. Always good to get a nice drop. Even though, it's only Tassets. They're only, like, not a lot. The War Shield sold for 50K, and after splits and everything, it came to 2.3 mil each. So you can do the math on whatever you think the Tassets were. Maybe somewhere around 3 mil or something like that. Not a big drop, but still always really great to get some sort of drop when doing some sort of God Wars Dungeon Reaper task. The day did end after that at 2494 total level and 224.1 mil XP. Let's check out the next day. Now this was the day that Jagex decided to kind of tweak the prices and things in the loyalty shop in Solomon's General Store to make them kind of reflect the distinct purpose of loyalty points versus rune coins, and in doing this they lowered the price on a lot of things. So I took it upon myself to waste 60k loyalty points on the replica armor outfit. It is something that I kind of really like. I know on my last account I had the replica Bandos, Armadillo, the replica plate armor, and I don't think, I know I never had any of the Barrows sets, but I did really enjoy the replica stuff, and this was the one that actually stood out to me as stuff that I liked the most. So I decided I would buy it, up my fashionscape potential a little bit. It does look pretty nice. It's not something I use often, but being able to is always pretty cool. Now this was also the day that God Wars Dungeon 2 came out into the game. It's an update that I really enjoy. I've tried all of the bosses. I like half of them. I do really enjoy going there for the most part, though. The downside of this was that Infernal Ashes got hit pretty hard just because of how many are dropped by the Twin Furies. So I decided that I should probably just sell all of my Infernal Ashes before they go down lower. Unfortunately, they had already been oversold, and they wound up rebounding a little bit from this price. I believe they were around maybe 1.5, 1.6K, maybe a little bit higher than that before the update. I sold them all off at 1.1. These were just Infernal Ashes I had accumulated through Slayer, selling a small part of my Slayer tab just in this, making myself 3.5 mil. Kind of a shame that I hadn't sold beforehand. It would have been, I think actually they might have been higher. It might have been almost 7 mil worth of Ashes, so it is a bummer. Kind of made me start to think if it was worth keeping a Slayer tab for reasons like this. But all in all, just kind of showing you guys where some of my money came from and kind of the impact that God Wars Dungeon 2 had on my bank. While getting kill count for numerous bosses, though, I got level 91 magic, which is pretty cool. Only unlocks energy transfer, which really isn't a special skill. It's just really nice to get level, make more progress in these skills, and hopefully get closer to that 99. Now, at this point in the account, and especially after trying Twin Furies and hearing everybody talk about it, I figured it was about time I finally caved and bought Dragors. So I spent a little under 46 mil for a Dragor set. This is just what I had heard was a really solid setup, going the main hand mace and the offhand rapier, just because with the main hand mace you get a really strong prayer bonus, and with the offhand rapier then you kind of unlock a little bit of weakness to stab and things like that. You guys can tell me in the comments what you guys think the best Dragor setup is. I might take it into consideration, might switch something out, but this is what I'm going with for now. I'm not using it often just because when I am doing most combat I want to be using augmented stuff, and I don't plan on augmenting these. But I did use these at Twin Furies for a while. They did feel really good, and it in general just felt really nice to have my first set of T90s. While at Twin Furies after that with a friend of mine, got to level 91 attack and 95 constitution. Very nice progress in general. Pretty solid combat XP. Not that it's anything special or something that you should do for combat XP, but I guess considering the effort you're putting into it, and the time and everything that you're putting into it, it is nice that you do get a decent amount of combat XP with it as well. Now, after my friend and I had done a couple instances of Vindicta and Twin Furies, granted they probably weren't all full instances, we never got any good drops, and we were still kind of practicing the mechanics and trying to optimize everything. It was a 5 mil split for each of us, which was a really solid cash increase, I would say, just considering that I'm used to like 1.5 to 3 mil splits from God Wars Dungeon 1. So getting 5 mil is nice. Granted, again, this was from a couple different instances, or a few. So it's a little bit skewed. The GP per hour wasn't looking as good here as it did later when prices started to maybe not necessarily even out, but when people stopped panic selling everything, and when we just got better at the boss in general and started getting faster and faster kills. Went to Hellwar with another friend of mine later that night, and we got the Dormant Anima Core Legs drop, which isn't anything special, especially now. Looking back, they're super cheap just because they're not really useful unless you charge them with the crests of whichever boss you want to. However, this one did sell for 2.3 mil, somewhere around there. So it was still a nice drop at this point. Only shame is that like literally the day after this, I was with a different friend at Twin Furies and we got another one, and it didn't sell for 500k. So kind of funky that way, but it was still nice to get the drop here. An hour of Hellwar wound up being a 2 mil split for each of us, which was really nice. Again, when we had made the 5 mil earlier between the two of us, I'm pretty sure that was just like 2.5 instances, give or take. Really not even sure because we weren't keeping track. I'm sure we did so many half-assed instances where we just left too soon. But again, another 2 mil, pretty solid profit for the day so far. After that, did another Vindicta instance. The best drop that we've got between the two of us, this friend and I, at any boss has been just an essence, which looks like a 1 mil drop. At this point, it was selling for 436k or so, and I'm sure it's only lower than that now. Really not a good drop, but I guess it's better than some. I guess it's the most optimistic way of looking at it. The end of the split wound up being another 1.25 mil, though. Granted, we may have not even stayed the whole time. There have been many times where we just kind of give up toward the end and we figure, you know what, fuck it, we've been here long enough, let's just call it good. I did end the day soon after that, though. 2497 total level and a little bit short of 226 mil XP. Let's check out day 235. Now, on this day, I realized just how messed up food prices were because of God Wars Dungeon 2. So what I did was I sold a bunch of sharks that I had been cooking, just to train cooking, that I had in my bank, and I used that money to buy 2,000 more raw sharks than I had sold cooked, with still money profit. It was just insanely cheap, the raw sharks. I don't know what the prices raw to cooked are looking like now at the release of this video, but I honestly think this was a really smart decision. Maybe I could have even sold the cooked and then waited to buy the raw, because there are raw shark drops on the drop table for most of the God Wars Dungeon 2 bosses, so maybe they would have kept declining, but I feel like when the price difference is this drastic, more and more people are going to be cooking for profit, and it would just nullify it in time anyway. So very happy that I did this, and at this point I'm pretty certain I have more than enough sharks for 99 cooking banked. Now, this was when the rare item token promo was going on. I was lucky enough to get a decent chunk of rare item tokens, and then after that I figured the only logical thing to do was to up my fashionscape as much as I could. So I finally got the sunglasses. I was really, really happy about that. Keepsaked them as well. They look awesome. I'm very, very happy to have them. And after that, I still had leftover tokens, and I wasn't really sure what to do with them, but then I thought to myself about how I used to want the Silverhawk more than I wanted the sunglasses. Of course, that changed, but I did wind up getting the Silverhawk as well. It does look really cool. Very happy to have that in the bank. I'm not going to use it that often, just because most of the time I have something equipped. I won't be able to have the Silverhawk equipped. But it is really cool to have in case I'm ever doing something where I maybe don't necessarily need that hand slot taken, or if I'm just kind of standing around talking to people. It's very cool to have. I'm super stoked about it. AFKing some woodcutting after that, got myself another level 12 crystal hatchet, and siphoning this got me to level 67 invention. Really cool progress there. Getting closer to that 70s cape, but still quite a ways off. Regardless, very nice making invention progress as well as woodcutting progress at the same time. Now after that I had a Bando's Reaper that I wanted to do, but I wanted to see if I could solo. While I was here I got myself a strength level, really cool progress in general there, nothing special, but of course another level. And what wound up happening was that because I wanted to take the bones, I wound up dropping food more often than I was eating it to make space for loot, and I had wound up finishing the kill, my last kill of the task perfectly with the full inventory, and teleporting out, you see that I didn't really make a whole lot of money at all, really. But I mean, it pays for the instance, and it just does kind of go to emphasize how desperately I really want a yak, or maybe how much I should have just been burying the bones with my bone crusher or something to make more inventory space to stay longer. But I feel like if I had brought a yak or alks for the rune items, I would have been much better off. So I would really, really like to be making summoning progress. However, 96 away from where I am now is still very, very far off. After that, went to go do another Vindicta task. I don't know if it was a task or if it was just an instance for fun, but did wound up being a 2.6 mil split. It's seeming to be very, very consistent, consistent money per hour, being around 2 to 3 mil GP per hour whenever I'm duo anywhere. And the reason it's so consistent is just because we don't get good drops to make that more, which does really suck. Hopefully, we'll get something soon. We've been so dry for so long. But I mean, that's just how it is. You have to go through the garbage drops to get the good ones. Regardless, though, that was the end of the day at 2499 total level and 227.6 million XP. Let's check out day 236. While getting kill count from more God Wars Dungeon 2, got myself to level 92 magic. It does unlock Blood Barrage, which is kind of cool. I mean, maybe I might use it one day in the Abyss, but it's not really something that I have planned. Still a very cool level nonetheless. Important thing about this level is it got me to 2500 total level, which just looks amazing. It's fantastic. I'm super stoked about it. Just that much closer to the 2715 total level goal that we're looking for. And when I say 2715, that sounds so far away. And honestly, it really, really is. I think at this point I'm around 60% to max in terms of XP. Don't know how long that will take. In terms of proportionally to how long we've been so far. I mean, we are on day 235. I don't think it's going to be another 170 days or whatever 40% to that 60% would be proportionally. But it is still very far away. We have a long ways to go, and hopefully we get there sooner rather than later. Later that day, I did go to Twin Furies. This was the time that the leg drop that I mentioned before, my friend had put in for 500k and it just didn't sell, so he decided to keep that and take approximately that much out of his split. Wasn't a bad split for me in general, though, so I'm happy with it. Granted, definitely could have been better. It's a shame they didn't sell. It's a shame that they kind of tanked so hard. Would have been nicer to get maybe an actual weapon drop, but you know, my luck has never been quite that good here yet. I did end the day a little while after that, though. 2500 total level and 229 million XP. Let's move on to day 237. My go-to AFK thing nowadays is Ivy, just because I've been super busy and I don't want to do more harps because I'm already so close to 99. I know I'm going to get that in time just through getting Strange Rocks anyway. And Ivy is one of the things, you know, woodcutting being one of my lower skills that I can be AFKing. So I've been deciding to put a lot of my effort in there. Anyway, I did get to level 93 woodcutting. Does unlock another step of an effigy, but the important part about this is that I'm only one level away from Crystal Trees, which would be much better to AFK than Ivy. Spoiler alert, I'm AFKing them right now as I record this episode, so I do wind up getting 94 at some point. Shh, don't tell anyone. But it is still really good progress in general, and I'm super happy with it. Forcing another Aqua Knights task got me to level 94 farming. This is why people go to Aqua Knights. This is why I was super stoked to have my Aqua Knight mask in the bank and deciding I should finally go here and work on it. Unlocking 94 means I can plant the crystal tree, and if you don't know what this means, it is a daily 15k farming XP drop for doing literally nothing. You click on the tree in the corner of the Tower of Voices in the Elf City, and you just get 15k XP, and you can do that once per day. And I figured this would just be so important to do and to prioritize that I had even started putting, what I had done was I usually put off a lot of my monthly tasks until the end of the month. Things like Troll Invasion, things like God Statues, and things like the Giant Oyster. The main reason for this is if I put them off toward the end of the month, if I gain any levels throughout that month, it means that the XP I get from these things will be higher because they're scaled to your level. I decided to do my Giant Oyster early in the month because I figured the sooner I could get up to 94, that would yield more XP over the month than if I had waited and done less crystal trees during the day, or per day, and wound up with just getting a little bit more XP at the end of the Destruction Diversion at the end of the month. So really, really happy for this. This is just going to boost my farming XP by so much. Granted, it is only 15k XP per day, but that does add up so much. Went back to Aquanites after that, got myself to level 100 prayer from my Bone Crusher. Pretty much all of my prayer XP, literally all of my prayer XP, from 99 to now has been either from the Bone Crusher, it's been from Heaven Voice of Saren, you get 1/4 of whatever agility XP you get in prayer XP, and also I've done maybe 2 prayer daily challenges, so it is starting to add up, which is kind of cool. I do want 120 prayer eventually, not anytime soon by any means, but it is cool to actually see that Bone Crusher XP adding up and resulting in something. Got another level 10 Salamander disassembling. It got me to level 68 Invention. Like most Invention levels, doesn't really unlock anything, but it is just that much more progress toward that 99, toward that 120, and hopefully these levels will be filled up with some sort of content in the future. I'm a little bit closer to the 70s cape with this, and it just feels good to be making solid progress in this skill. Now, you guys may or may not have noticed in a lot of my clips there have been a very, very slowly selling off stack of Granite Lobster pouches that I had. Some of these were pouches that I had made, but the vast majority of them, over around 37k or so, of them were pouches that I had bought during bonus XP weekend. Now, the reasoning behind this was because a lot of people make Granite Lobsters and Yak pouches and things along those lines. They make a bunch of pouches just because summoning XP is very, very fast, and to do that over bonus XP weekend makes it extremely, extremely fast, and you save a lot of money. What happens with this, though, is people wind up selling their pouches really, really low just to have more money to spend on things, or just because they don't want to hold them, they're afraid of them crashing more, things along those lines. I figured with the low price it was a good time to buy in because Granite Lobster pouches were pretty much dead even with their swap price, meaning I could swap them for Spirit Shards at pretty much exactly what they would cost from the Grand Exchange. So worst case scenario is I go dead even. Now, what happened was a lot of pouches were actually at a higher price before bonus XP weekend because of Invention. People were disassembling pouches in order to get powerful components for augmenters. Only downside to this was that when so many more entered the game, and when Invention shifted a little bit away from disassembling augmented things and a little bit more toward siphoning things, pouches just never really recovered as much as I had expected them to. I was really hoping I could sell these Granite Lobsters for around 4.5, 4.7k each. As you can see from this clip, that is not what happened. I did make around 9 mil profit, but given the time invested and the money I allocated to it, I really don't think it was worth it. Kind of a letdown, but I mean, you win some, you lose some. Now, if you'll think back to when I was talking about my Infernal Ashes with the God Ascension 2 release earlier in this episode, I was saying how it was making me question whether or not keeping a Slayer tab is really worth it. A friend of mine I was talking to about it, and I've talked to a handful of people about this actually, but what he was saying is that more often than not, it's better to just sell whatever it is than to hold on to it, because it's more likely that any Slayer loot is going to go down than it is to go up unless there's something really weird that changes in the game. For example, Invention, which brought up the prices of a lot of items just because you can disassemble so many different things, and on release a lot of items had a massive spike in demand. And if you'll go back to my Invention video, don't remember which number it was, but if you think back to it, I did wind up selling 10 or 15 mil worth of Slayer loot just because those prices were higher than they normally were, and I wanted to take advantage of that. So after selling out on my Granite Lobsters, I figured that now is as good a time as any to rip through the Grand Exchange and sell my entire Slayer tab. You can feel free to pause at any one of these clips. I do show literally everything that I sold. I don't think I missed a single line. So when you go from one clip to the next, the top clip in one clip is the bottom clip on the next, except for maybe one, but I'm pretty sure that there was nothing in between the two. So as you'll see, there were a lot of things that I sold that just really were garbage, stuff that I really shouldn't have bothered picking up in the first place. Some of that might have just been because it was stuff I used to loot, but then I didn't get that Slayer task anymore after I'd sold it in the past, because again, there were a handful of times throughout this account that I have sold off certain portions of my Slayer tab to make some bank space. In the end of all of this, I did wind up making 77 mil from my Slayer tab, which was really, really cool. It was very exciting. I was ecstatic to make that much. I didn't expect it would be worth that much. Only reason I was really keeping it was to see how much I would make at 99, you know, which would have been cool, but at the same time, I feel like I would just be screwing myself out of so much potential money on items that could have potentially dropped. You know, anything that isn't an ALK, meaning it doesn't ALK for about its GE price, is liable to drop in price. And, you know, Infernal Ashes only kind of emphasized that further to me, and I'm very glad that this is the decision that I wound up going with, because imagine if this 77 mil, you know, that could have very easily been 70 mil or 65 mil if I had waited. And not that I'm super desperate for that extra like 10 mil or something, but I feel like it was the smarter decision in the long term. And let's be honest, I had been selling off so much Slayer loot slowly throughout the account that whatever amount I got at the end of the tab really would have been kind of irrelevant, and I would have had to do a bunch of random math looking back into previous episodes to see how much it was. And that also doesn't account for any coin drops and things along those lines. It's kind of a pipe dream to keep a Slayer tab and to see how much you make at the end, because it never properly evaluates how much you made because of coin drops, because of things that you alk along the task, and because of price changes. So I figure it was just better to sell it. And in basically until now, this is day 237. I'm on day 244 right now, I believe. Current day as I'm recording this. I've been selling off a lot of my Slayer loot as I go, whether it be after every task, after every couple tasks, and I feel like it's the better way to go, just in that I actually have that wealth available to me. I can use that to buy things, whether they be supplies, whether they be investments, and it's just less likely that I wind up losing money on these Slayer drops. So I wanted to share that with you guys, show you guys where that extra 77 mil came from. Super stoked. Again, very happy that I made this much from Slayer so far. The only things that I didn't sell were things that I know I'm specifically going to use. For example, teak and mahogany planks, I saved those because I will either use the teak planks for construction. I know I'll use the mahogany planks for daily challenges. I also saved gold ore because I use gold ore, and I use big bones during my Jack of Trades run, so I just kept those in the bank. And I kept all of my coal in the bank as well. Coal I also get from Miscellanea, but coal is just at a really low price mostly because of God Wars Dungeon 2. So much is coming into the game, I figured it would be kind of a waste to sell at a low. Again, my goal of selling all of my Slayer loot was to get the most out of it, you know, and if I'm selling something that I am very aware is underpriced at the moment, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to save it. I don't need the extra 3-5 mil, whatever it's worth. I can wait until it's worth something more and get the most out of it. Anyway, though, that's my Slayer tab, and again, very, very happy with it. I did end of that day after that, though, at 2503 total level and 230.5 mil XP. We're really starting to get up there, but we are not done yet. Let's move on to day 238. Began the day getting level 89 rune crafting while working on a rune crafting daily challenge, which is really, really cool just because I don't like rune crafting. Any progress that I make, any noticeable progress, always feels great. After that, working on Heaven Voice of Saren, got myself to level 96 agility, which feels fantastic. I really just don't like training agility, right? So whenever Voice of Saren is up, I try to focus on that, and it's definitely saved me a lot of time, because if I hadn't done that, I would have had to do so much agility later without Voice of Saren, and that would just be terrible. Working on Slayer after that, though, my Bandos set got to level 12, which is awesome. So I went and I siphoned both of those things. I went from level 68 to 69 to level 70, 2 levels from siphoning those things, which is awesome. Did unlock some new stuff. The only really important thing would be the charge drain reduction. But I decided that because I was so close to level 71 to just go to the workshop and unlock a handful of different things I figured I might use in time, maybe, or just for the XP to hit 71, just because I was so close and I really wanted it. So I did that, got to level 71, super exciting to be making such solid progress, having the 70s cape. It just looks awesome, and I'm super happy with it. A little while after that, the Balmung I was using got to level 10, decided to disassemble this. I believe this is the last Balmung I'm ever going to use. I'm just going to stick to using my attuned crystal halberd, because they did kind of change the drain rate on it. It did used to be like around 5 or something ridiculous, but it's more like 2.3 or something now. I don't know if that's something that actually changed, something that might have just been bugged on the interface. Maybe it's bugged now and it's actually 5. I really don't know, but I think it's more safe to use it now than it was before, so I'm going to do that. And the sad part about disassembling this level 10 Balmung is I did not get a level from it. It's just kind of going to show that levels are spacing out. A disassemble isn't quite getting me a level anymore, or not always, which is always bringing sad days. But you do what you got to do. Push through the bigger levels in order to get to the bigger goals. Also got level 93 Slayer from this Slayer task. Bunch of things coming out in this one Slayer task, which is awesome. 93 unlocks Ice Strike Worms. Very, very good Slayer task in really every way, in terms of XP, Slayer XP, in terms of combat XP, in terms of drops, they're good. Just very, very happy to have them. Hopefully, I'll get them soon. I haven't gotten them yet, but looking forward to when that comes. Finishing that task had gotten me enough Slayer points to finally be able to put one of my tools in my tool belt. I decided to put my Seed Aside in my tool belt, basically just because there are some times I don't really want my Charming Imp with me, whether that be like God Wars Dungeon or something, mostly just because I forget to turn it off at a regular God Wars Dungeon when I don't want the tiny charm jobs taking up inventory space. And there are times I don't really want my Bone Crusher with me either. So I figured Seed Aside was the best option just because I don't always remember what tasks I need the Seed Aside on, which ones they're important, which ones they're not. And I do really want farming XP, so taking this out of the equation of something for me to remember just seemed like the best thing to do by far. Went on to complete Birthright of the Dwarves after that. Kind of an annoying quest in a few different ways, but getting that done was awesome. It's the first quest I've done on this account in a very long time, so again, making any progress I can toward that quest cape, it just feels really good. And this quest does give really, really good mining and smithing XP, and it does finish the Dwarven questline for me. So that's one more questline done. Still have around 29, I think, quests left on this account, especially whenever the new Vampire quest comes out. That could be 29 or 30. I don't remember where I am exactly right now, but quest progress is always, always great. I did end of the day a little while after that at 234.6 million XP. If you look under in metrics, I got 4 million XP today just because of so many disassembles. Fucking feels good, man. 2509 total level. Let's check out the next day. An Abyssal Demon task I was working on got me to level 92 defense and 92 strength. Really, really good progress in general there. I've just been training through balanced, just because I don't really see any reason to get up any of them faster than the other at this point. I mean, they're all tier 90. I don't know how much going from 90 to 99 really improves any one of them in particular. So because I don't really know which is most efficient, I'm just keeping it on balance so I don't forget for my my jacket trades, and just because I feel like leveling them up at an even pace isn't really much better or worse than if I was to not. After that, went to do a Zamorak task, got Gloves of Subjugation, which isn't a bad drop, but definitely could have been something better. Would have preferred, of course, a Garb or a Gown, just because there's things you can augment, things that are worth much, much more. But after that, I got a Severed Hoof drop, which was incredible. It was mind-blowing. It's the first pet drop that I have ever had for anything, ever. I've never had a Cresbot. I've never had any real boss pets. And I was just ecstatic. I lost my shit. I was in a Skype call just freaking out about it because I had never had a boss pet. This was on 804 kill count, which really isn't a lot, especially considering pretty much all of the krill I've ever done has been duo, right? So the kills are super fast, and it was just awesome. I was so psyched about it. I can't even express it to you guys because it's just mind-blowing. I feel like I don't really deserve a drop like this because I'm not really someone who PVMs a whole lot. I mean, I'm getting a little bit more into it now, but I'm not a really heavy PVMer in terms of the tier of stuff that I do, and even in the amount. So to get this, I was just so excited. And of course, to finish off the instance, we get the Hood of Subjugation. Again, kind of like the gloves, not really anything special, but it is another drop. To get 3 drops in an instance, one of them being a pet, just mind-blowing, mind-blowing. So of course, after the instance, I summoned my pet, and he'll be my pet, and I will love him forever, and he is adorable, and I love him, and he's cooler than any pet you have ever because he's mine. Anyway, the loot we got from that instance was 1.7 mil or so, not a special instance necessarily, but not in terms of money or in monetary gains, but of course the pet. I can't stop thinking about it, can't stop talking about it. So stoked. We're working on a God Wars Dungeon task, or not a God Wars Dungeon task, but just going to God Wars Dungeon 2 for drops, or trying to get drops, of course never get them. Got to level 96 HP. Granted, this is only like during a trip of me banking, so you don't really see the boss that I'm doing, but I did get 96 HP. I'm not recording all of my God Wars Dungeon 2 trips, mostly because very few of them have been special in terms of drops, in terms of levels, in terms of really anything. And just because I feel like I've been doing a decent amount of it where it would just kind of spam up the entire video, and I don't really want to do that. I want to show like actual milestone progress, not just everything that I do. After that, though, I did go on to finish the Elven Hard task, which is really cool. With this done, I can finally exchange things with the Lord Amlad for an increased price, more spirit shards per pouch. Should something be at a lower price, I can either buy it off the Grand Exchange and make profit, or be it that it's just my own stuff doesn't sell, and I want to get the most out of it that I can. Really cool to get this done. Just making solid progress through the task diary in general is always fantastic. And went on to AFK a little bit of divination immediately after that, and got to level 91. Now this was a level that I used to want very badly because I wanted the Divine Rocktail bubble, but shortly after I was thinking about that, I realized how much better using Divine Simulacrums would be for this account, just because I need Divination XP so much more than Fishing XP. So that's kind of been thrown to the wayside until I get, probably until 99 Divination. But it is still a cool level in general. Can finally cash in all of those Manifest Shadow cores that I have, get some light cores, maybe make some light creatures, get some money from that. Just a pretty cool level in general. Going back to Ranwin to remember to finally upgrade my quiver after having completed the task set. Got that done, and not taken care of. Put the XP lamp into Divination, a solid 40k XP drop. Very happy about that. I'm at the point now where I have pretty much high enough agility that I don't want to keep putting all of my bonus XP and lamps into agility, just because I feel like at this point I have around 8 weeks left of Strange Rocks that I want to complete, and you guys know me, I don't like training things much past 99 unless I'm already maxed. So I figure that any sort of Strange Rock hunting I will do will probably get me to 99 or close to it, and I am very, very low in Divination, so I've started shifting everything into Divination to boost that up, and so that's why you're seeing a Divination XP drop instead of what you probably would have expected as me putting it into Agility. I did end the day there, though, at 236.7 mil XP, 2513 total level. Some awesome progress on this day. Let's check out day 240, the last day of this episode. Began the day hunting Strange Rocks, got myself to level 93 construction, not a special level, but a level nonetheless, and after that at the Citadel I got myself to 93 smithing. Pretty much the same deal, nothing special, but it is still really cool progress. At Vindicta, with a buddy of mine, he had already teleported out because he was low for the kill, but finishing the kill I got myself to level 93 magic. Again, like most levels at this point, not anything special, but really, really cool nonetheless. The split for that instance wound up being 2.1 or 2.8 mil for each of us, so very solid profit. I'm pretty sure I'm only going to be showing any sort of God Wars Dungeon 2 profit if there's like a noticeable split at the end, or if we stay for long enough for there to be a good split. Otherwise, it's just really not worth the clip. It's not worth your time to watch in the episode, and it's not worth my time to record and edit. And so that's my explanation behind that. That was the end of the day, and in turn the end of the episode at 2516 total level and 238.1 million total XP. Hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. If you're not already, make sure you subscribe because there will be a new episode coming out sometime in the near future. And as always, guys, we've had awesome progress. Pet drop, just fucking beautiful. I can't say anything other than that. Super stoked about it. And I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode as well. Again, stay happy, everybody, and make sure you come back for next episode because I will return and I will rebuild.